Hey guys, it's Star. Welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be showing you guys how I shade. So first, the important thing for shading is to know where your light is coming from. So we're just going to get this. So usually the light in my shading starts out here. So the sun is going to touch, or the light is going to touch the top of the head, maybe the cheek, the top of the nose, anything that sticks out farther than, the thing in front of it. And of course, shadows are going to be behind the nose, underneath in like certain parts of the hair, underneath the neck, in the ears, etc. So it's important to know where your lighting is and where the shadows are going to be cast before you start shading. So I'm going to talk about two different things that I use in my shading, which I like to call depth shading and shadow shading. And depth shading is just showing depth of the face, and it's where I just add general shading around. It's very light. It's not heavy, dark shading. It's just light, just to kind of give the face and the hair and the clothes a little bit more depth. And to do that, I usually pick the color of the skin and then go down to the left corner a little bit, just maybe to the center. And then I use my spray can tool and I spray around the face, because if you notice that someone's face is like, there's shading all around it. There's going to be, this is just to show the depth of the face, so you're going to put it around. I tend to put it around the whole entire face, underneath the nose, around the nose, and in the crevices of the eyes, because you just want to know where things poke out on the face. So where there isn't going to be as much light hitting it, you're going to put a little bit of your depth shading there. So in the ears, over the ears, and underneath the hair. And another thing I want to point out is, like, yes, you want to do it underneath the hair, but don't do it right here over like the forehead, because it kind of gives the illusion as if the hair isn't actually on her head. So what I tend to do is I definitely do it towards here, but as it starts to get near the scalp, you kind of taper it off, because the hair is coming from that central point and you don't want a shadow there, because it would kind of give the illusion like the hair is just sitting on the head and not actually attached to the head. So once you have all that shading done, I usually take my line art tool and I do some cell shading, basically using that color I just shaded with, or maybe even a little bit of a darker color. I'll add some lines where I was shading. I don't know, it's just a style. This is just purely for style reasons, that I just like the way it looks. But also kind of helps to it adds to the depth shading for my style. Okay, now that I have that shading done, now I'm going to talk about shadow shading, which is basically where the shadows are going to be cast. And this kind of goes back to where the sun and the light is going to hit your character. So we're just going to focus on the face for now, because I have that part shaded. So obviously, like where the sun is, so we're just going to put another sun here just to show where the lighting's going to be. Just going to move the sun up a little bit more. Okay. So it's going to hit like the top of the nose, top of the lip, maybe like the tops of their cheeks, maybe top of the ear, side of the face, side of the neck. And where these shadows are going to be cast is underneath the neck, where the hair overlaps the face, in the crevices of the eyes, underneath the nose, underneath the lip, in the crevices of the corners of the mouth, and in the ear. And just be thinking about like if you're having like issues with this, like observing nature will really help, maybe take a picture of yourself in different lighting and observe where the shadows are cast on your face. It will really help a lot. Studying from the world around you really helps. So that's just another pointer I have. So now that we understand where all the shadows are going to be cast, what I usually do is I take a darker purple or a purple blue or a purple red, depending on the color scheme, and I use a really dark one, and I bring down the opacity on that layer, and I just put all the shadows in. So I'm going to put a shadow underneath the neck, where the hair overlaps the face. Underneath the nose, like where the nostrils are, and just underneath that area, in the corners of the mouth, and maybe underneath the lips, again where the hair is, in the crevices of the eyes, maybe just a little bit. You don't want to go overboard and make it look like makeup. And then in the ear. And maybe around the side of the face, depending on where the lighting is. There we go, because it kind of gives an illusion that the sun is coming from this point, which means that this side of the face is going to get more light and this side of the face is going to get more shadows. So it's just understanding where the light is coming from and where the shadows are going to be cast plays a very important factor in how you shade. And again, it's why I say you probably should observe nature and just observe where the shadows and where they're cast and how the light works. You know, just observing from nature in general is just really useful. I really recommend it. This is my general way of shading. I'm not saying this is how you have to shade it. You do not have to shade like this anyway. It's just something that there's some things that I've learned and some things that work for me may work for you. And so I just wanted to, share my knowledge of how I draw with you guys. So I just did the face. I usually shade the whole drawing, obviously, but just did the face for today. But I do want to talk about some common mistakes that I see some artists making, and some mistakes I used to make when I first went into digital art. Some common mistakes I usually see are people, they take a darker color, but they shade like everywhere. And I used to do this myself, so I understand it, where they shade all over, like this, where they kind of outline the whole thing, like every facial feature in their shading, where they go like that, where the problem with this is that not everything on the face is going to cast a shadow. Where if you look at the eyes, this is not going to cause a shadow here, because under here is actually higher up than the eye is. So that wouldn't be there because the eye is placed lower than the skin underneath it is. Another thing is with the eyebrows. Again, the eyebrows commonly do not cause a shadow on the face unless you have someone who has a really prominent eye socket, but for most it won't cause a shadow up at the top. And another thing I talked about is with the hair. It's important to understand where the hair is rooted, and because this kind of gives the illusion that the hair is just sitting on the head. And I'll show some of my drawings where I made this mistake. It makes the hair look like it's just sitting on the head and it's not actually rooted on the head. So to fix this, you don't shade at this point. Right where the hair would be rooted, you don't shade there to show I mean, you can put some shading there, but just not the same amount of shading that you would put everywhere else to kind of make like, okay, that's where the hair is coming from. Let's see. Again, right here where the clothing is, commonly you wouldn't get a shadow. Like, again, depending on the lighting is, you wouldn't, where the lighting is, you wouldn't get a shadow on your skin from clothes that are below you. You would get a shadow from clothes that are above you. So say you had, I'm just gonna draw an example here. So say you had a t-shirt, and then here's the neck and here's the arm. You would most likely get a shadow here and not a shadow up here, because if the light is coming from here, the shadow is not going to be right there. It's going to be right here, because there's going to be no light in this area, whereas the light would hit this area, so you would not get a shadow there. So that's just another mistake I commonly see, is that they put a shadow where the light would be otherwise hitting the skin. So yeah, that's just some common mistakes I see in art. In my own art, my older art, I see a lot of these mistakes, so I just wanted to point them out. Shading is really about where the light hits the object and where the shadows fall. So understanding that will really help improve your art. So yeah, thank you so much for watching this video. It's my first tutorial video, so I'm sorry if I'm like out of the place. I did make a script, but I didn't do a good job at following it. So yeah, thank you guys for watching. I am StarTheEpicOne, and I'll talk to you guys all later. Bye!